loved ones, all the prodigals that have run away from God. I want their names, their information, like the photo, and I want to minister to that by laying hands on it and building an altar here. We're going to be fasting and praying for it. This is going to happen on April 21, 6:30 p.m. It will be by Zoom. You don't need to come. You can join me live anywhere, and I'm going to send you the Zoom link when you send me the name and the photo or any of that through this information right here. And we are going to build an altar, put the name and the photo of your loved one on that altar. My team and I are going to come fasting, praying, and lay hands on it and watch what God will do. The prodigals are coming back. And by the way, I'm offering you resources, free resources on how to get your prodigals back. You can get on my YouTube page or you can go to my Facebook platform, all on the website, and you find all that information to help you bring your prodigals back. I'll tell you, prayer works. Let's do it. They're coming back.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Troy, and this is, gosh, I'm going to start crying, Charles. This is God's miracle right here, and His promise. So all in one. So I cannot tell you just how much God has shown up, and I think the reason why Charles has me kind of talking is because I'm kind of the intruder here. I'm the outsider looking in. I'm the one who got blessed and kind of was brought into this chaotically loving family. And so I'm just going to share from an outsider's perspective first what I came into, what I witnessed, and what I'm seeing now, because it is nothing short of a miracle. Nothing short of a miracle. And so I fell in love with my beautiful wife here, and she has had 5 kids, and I had 5 kids. So we had 10 kids. We have 10 kids. And so the miracle really started, and they're all amazing, beautiful, God-fearing kids. But when I knew Jade, we're going to start with Jade, because she's, like Dr. Charles said, she's the one that started this whole thing. And we have, what do we call our little adventure that we went through?
Epic. It's epic.
It was epic. That's literally just, when we just want to talk about it, we just say epic, because that's what it was. So Jade, I'm going to not do it justice, but for the sake of time, go through just a little bit of her story, have her share it from herself as well. But she had a pretty traumatic life for a lot of it. She was gang raped very young. And then also got physically attacked by the girls at school who set up the gang rape, so as a teenager. And then she, unfortunately, they all went through this, but Danielle and Jade lost their father to suicide, and he had taken a shotgun to himself, and Jade was the one who found him. And when I first met her, she used to tell me how that image was just etched in her brain. It never went away. And then a lot of other things happened. Jade lost her first husband in his 20s. He's no longer with us. He died. And there was a lot of just way too many stories. Like we could, each one of them, Danielle and Jade, have been through so much. And I guess the way to summarize it is Christine used to tell me these stories, and I used to say, that's not true. That can't be a reality. Like, people don't go through that. And then I'd go back to where they were from and find out not only was it true, but there was way more to the story than I even knew. She was softening the blow because that's the only way she could get it through to me. And so Jade had at one point turned to drugs, and Christine she'd always tell me, and you guys, this is where I started crying, because what Christine did was she stood in the gap. She prayed every night for them, 20 years. They never saw that. They never saw it. I saw it. But they never saw how much she was warring for them. She was fighting in the spirit. She never gave up, ever. So she was warring for them the whole time. And so she would say, yeah, thanks. She would say, my Jade is so sweet. She never touched drugs. She never didn't want to do anything. She would lay with the animals. She would take care of the animals. They had a little hobby farm, and what they didn't have, they like rescued from, I'm pretty sure the neighbors sometimes, but whatever. They just had all these animals. So just caring soul. But Jade turned to some pretty hard drugs, and I'll let them tell you the story of the drugs they went to. And when I saw her the first time, it was heroin, and I'm in the healthcare world. I run a facility and very, very successfully help people. So I said to Christine, I can help her. And we tried to help her. And I'm telling you right now, it almost killed me. It legitimately almost killed me. I told Christine I'm never doing that again. Yeah, it was a workout. And so Jade came, and it was horrible. So I knew I'm kind of smart in the way that I don't ever make the same mistake twice for most things. So I said, I'm never going to do that again. And if we ever do it, it's going to be different. And so we got to a point here recently in the last year that Jade called us. And keep in mind, we'd hear from Jade about once a year at this point. She had switched from heroin to methadone, which is legalized heroin basically, and had been going to a methadone clinic every day for 10 years at this point. And she was seeing things in her house. And she was calling her mom at this point because she knew her mom was the one that could take care of it. For whatever reason, it was her mom that would take care of this, when nothing else her mom kind of had said or did during this time was ever important, so or would work. So she went, and she was talking with her, and she engaged. And then your mom basically said, at some point, you need deliverance. And so this was a new concept to us as well. We had been working or following Pastor Greg Locke during the shutdowns, and that was our introduction to deliverance. And so she took Jade down to Tennessee. Yeah. No, it was before that. So yeah. So this is the before that. Yeah. So she went down there, and that started the whole process. And then we had a plan. After that, to get Jade to Minnesota. And this is where God took over, completely took over. And Jade was on board, and Jade will tell you, and I'll let her say it, but she would tell us that she didn't believe she was bound by anything. She felt that she was free going through this process, even being on methadone, and her mom would say, you're not free. Say it again.
You ain't free.
Say it. Every time. You ain't free. And she says that. In case you haven't noticed, she's got this beautiful little attitude that comes with every statement that she makes. And so that's what Jade, she landed on that. And so she ended up committing to coming to Minnesota, and Christine says, I'm coming to get you, you're coming to Minnesota. And that's when chaos erupted, basically. The attack was on, and everything that could come at us really, really did. But we made a promise to the three of us. I knew, number one, I wasn't going to do what we did last time, which was just healthcare, just doing it naturally ourselves. So this time our strategy was we were going to bring deliverance into it, and that was really the only difference. That was the only difference. And so, having said that, I was talking with my medical doctor friends about the level of methadone she was on, and she was on such a high dose. None of them had ever heard of a dose that high. 216 milligrams. And the patients we have treated and worked with, 60 milligrams is normal. And so it was enough really to tranquilize an elephant. And so she took it daily, for years. And so we actually set up, we had planned a 6-month slow weaning process to get off of it. Because what did they tell you at the clinic when you're on that methadone?
It will kill you. You'll have seizures, you'll die, your heart will go in cardiac arrest, you'll just die.
So that was what was coming out of her mouth all the time, fear, fear, fear. So, but we had promised each other that we were going to pray, listen to God's voice, listen to the Holy Spirit, and do one thing, be obedient. That was it. That's what we all agreed to, and we weren't going to make any rash decisions unless the three of us were in alignment and we had confirmation. So this was a 100% faith journey and faith walk. And so Jade came there, and we took her to the methadone clinic here in town to get her first dose and I had all the doctors lined up to start writing down her wean over the 6 months. And we showed up there, and her paperwork wasn't there. It was at the end of the day, so we called, and they said, oh, we sent it to the wrong clinic, and they sent it to Brainerd. Yeah, 12 times they sent it to the wrong clinic. They sent it to a clinic that doesn't even exist anymore. It's been closed for 5 years. So for the short version of that story is we went to a couple different clinics to get the wean and prescription over the next 3 days, and every time we showed up, it just wouldn't happen. We even Jade had the people on the phone saying we're faxing it now, and we're standing in the office waiting for the fax to come through, and it wouldn't come through. And so we prayed about it, and my wife and I got very, very clear that this is what God's will was, to go cold turkey. Not only that, but what else were you on?
About 10 different psych meds for mental health.
So what were some of the things you were diagnosed with that you're on for mental health?
And I was smoking weed and cigarettes and vapes daily and doing cocaine.
So cocaine, methadone, smoking, vapes, and what other meds were prescribed?
Prozac, Wellbutrin, there were so many.
Gabapentin.
Gabapentin. I had mood stabilizers for promethazine. There's so many. There was just for years that.
Medication since she was 14 for bipolar, for pre-schizophrenia, for different things like that, because mood stabilizers, because Jade had sleeping disorders and voices in her head and PTSD, all of that. So the one thing that I'll mention here then is when I went, Christy and I went to pick her up for that final trip back, God spoke to me very clearly and said, tell her she will have a clean slate. And I said that to her, and yeah, wait. Spoiler alert.
I never thought it was possible to have a mind so clear and quiet and actually be able to go to sleep when I wanted to without medicating myself. It's a possible thing to have a clean slate. Not remember being addicted, not remember chasing drugs. Instead, I just chase God now, and it's a beautiful thing.
And so she ended up coming to Minnesota, and honestly didn't believe she was going to get a clean slate. I do have one other thing too. You had said earlier when we first met that that image of your father was etched in your brain, and can you just make a comment on that?
It was etched into my eyeballs, like literally everywhere I looked, I would see my father with no head. I couldn't go to sleep at night. He would haunt me. It would replay over and over like I was standing there. It was almost like the day that it happened, which was 6 weeks after I had my first child. It just never went anywhere. No matter where I looked, he was there. Now it's gone. It's gone. By the grace of God, it's gone.
So Jade finds herself at our place, and admittedly, she thought we kind of had schemed to make her go cold turkey. She's like, Mom, this is your idea, cold turkey, because the clinic had told her she would die. And that was etched into her head. Every day, I had to reassure her that she wasn't going to die from not getting her dose. And after 4 days not on the program, they kick you out of the program for noncompliance. So you have no choice but to go cold turkey. So we were, or admit yourself, that's right. And so Christine and I both prayed about it, and God gave us peace. We just had a peace about it. And it was on she had been through Pastor Locke's deliverance, and then we had, on day 4, my nurse practitioner, I was talking about, I wish there was someone local who did deliverance. And my nurse practitioner who worked for me said, you need to call Charles. Yep. And I said, well, where is he? 5 minutes from the clinic. I'm like, what? So Burnsville, we're in Egan. And so Mary Bashara is the one who gave me your number, and we called you and emailed you and called you and set up a time to just come see you, and you were very gracious and saw us, and it was just to get to know us, to let us know about what you could do and stuff like that, just to see. I could tell it was like a feel for whether or not we were Christians, born again, all that stuff. So you were asking a bunch of questions. Christine's father was a very, very gifted pastor. She's a PK. And so they're very grounded in the faith. So Charles is like, let's do this now. And so, short version of that story, and Jade doesn't even remember this, I had Jade's little boy with me, and I was bouncing him on my lap, and Jade just manifested into a snake right then and there on the ground and started throwing up, even though she hadn't eaten for 4 days. She threw up a garbage bag full of stuff that wasn't food. And we saw stuff like her back was hunching, and just, it was, I had never seen this, y'all. So I'm from the medical world, and so we tended to do things a little different. So my job was, I have about 4 or 5 degrees, and I turned into the most highly sought after babysitter in that moment right there. And that's what I did. I took the young child and I walked with him, because that's what my degrees got me, right? Does that make sense to this crew? All right. So Jade lost 12 pounds of whatever was in her there. And she had not slept through the night, more than 15 minutes. And so we ended up getting to sleep, and my wife and I were exhausted at that time. It was Christine who was getting up and going in and being with Jade, and I would treat Jade. I would do cranials, I'd do some other stuff. We did IVs in our living room. We were basically doing all the stuff we can, but that night, my wife and I slept through the night. We woke up the next morning, and we looked at each other and said, did you go to her? And she said, no, and I said, no. And so we both had the, oh no, panic. Yeah, exactly. That's what we should have done. We should have said, praise Jesus, and instead we went, oh no, and we ran out to see if she was alive. That was our first thought. And she was coloring. She had a coloring book, and she was coloring. And just wait for it, because this is where the miracles started happening. We haven't even gotten to the good part yet. She started talking as if she had just been to heaven. She started talking with an authority I had never heard. And I looked at my wife, and we both started crying. I'm going to start crying again. And this is the other thing, in healthcare medicine, I never cry. There's no crying in healthcare. So we looked at each other, and she was describing like heaven and quoting scripture and all this stuff. And I'm like, where is this coming from? So then she told us the epic story, and I'll have you elaborate on this, but she had a visitation from an angel. She says, you don't want to do it. I'll tell this. I'll have her tell you the story from the angel, and there's one part in particular that will blow your mind. But just, yeah, tell us about the visitation you had.
Which part do you want to hear about? Sitting on the getting to sleep. Oh, okay. So I was I was about to give up. I'm just going to be real. I was about to give up. I really didn't. I just wanted to sleep. That's all I wanted to sleep. And a voice came to me and said, get up. It was 3 a.m. It said, get up. You must obey. Obedience is key. Get up. Go to the shower. And he talked me through on how, basically, hearing God's voice is what it was. Taught me by washing my hair 3 times, by now go in and lay down, and just so much. And I got to meet 2 of my hosts. I got to see my guardian angel. I asked him, can you just sit down and put me to sleep? I'm so tired. He says, I'm too big for that, and we're not allowed to sit down. You should know better than that. So I learned a lot that night, and I learned obedience is key, and being desperate is key too. You have to be desperate. You have to want to change, And if you don't want to change, it's not going to happen. It's just not. You have to be willing to surrender all or don't surrender nothing. It's just that simple. You got to know that God created everything and he runs everything. 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 But being desperate is key. And I was desperate. I wanted to sleep so bad, but I still got up. I still got up and I still listened. And then I was taught how to hear his voice, even though it was very soft, by coloring. I would ask the Holy Spirit, what color next? He'd say, that one. And I would color. What do I color this? And I did that for days. And I obeyed. Even if the colors didn't make sense, I still did it because that's what he was telling me to do. And I learned his voice that way by coloring pictures. And it was amazing. And I didn't think those things were possible, but with God, all things are possible. Same with the clean slate. I heard that my whole childhood. I'm like, what are these people talking about? Clean slate. Like, I hear so much stuff in my head all the time. Like, what's a clean slate? And then I got it. And I'm like, wow, it's quiet. This is nice. Like, I can actually hear my own thoughts now. But obedience is key, and being desperate is key. Oh, yeah. One other thing. They knew that Troy would think I was a lunatic because I was talking about angels and hosts visiting me and describing what they looked like, because they don't look like nothing here, believe that. They're actual creatures. And they said, so he doesn't think you're hallucinating. Tell him that when he prays in the shower, my voice is so loud because of the water. I'm in the water. It magnifies the voice of God.
So, but here's what you need to know about that. That's a question I've been asking in prayer for over 15 years, because God gave me an answer to one of my patients' problems, but only when I was in the shower. So what she didn't know is that was the question I asked almost daily in my prayer walk when I'm in my shower. Why does this work why does my prayer work better in the shower? That was a question I prayed daily. So it was confirmation for me. So I don't think Jade was a lunatic. She basically, what Jade said was, at the time, she said, so tell Troy this so he doesn't think you are hallucinating.
Hello there, this is Charles right here at the Hub, and I want to pray for your unsaved loved ones, all the prodigals that have run away from God. I want their names, their information, like the photo, and I want to minister to that by laying hands on it and building an altar here. We're going to be fasting and praying for it. This is going to happen on April 21, 6:30 p.m. It will be by Zoom. You don't need to come. You can join me live anywhere, and I'm going to send you the Zoom link when you send me the name and the photo or any of that through this information right here. And we are going to build an altar, put the name and the photo of your loved one on that altar. My team and I are going to come fasting, praying, and lay hands on it and watch what God will do. The prodigals are coming back. And by the way, I'm offering you resources, free resources on how to get your prodigals back. You can get on my YouTube page, or you can go to my Facebook platform, all on the website, and you find all that information to help you bring your prodigals back. I'll tell you, prayer works. Let's do it. They are coming back.